All right. So now recording. I'm gonna scoot this over here. Because I basically only have one cutting board, I want to use my cutting board for my vegetable first, which in this case is just an onion. All right, so I'm gonna cut my onion first, set that aside, and then start to braise that beef. All right, small dice here. Actually gonna preheat burner there. All right, I'm gonna get a bowl, set that aside.
This is gonna make me so hungry.
Okay. And my garlic. I only need 2 cloves here. Okay, we're just mincing it. So what I was telling Beth yesterday is that because all ovens work differently, your recipe says to you're going to braise this in the oven at 325. Now, if you notice that your oven tends to run a little bit hot, you may want to drop that temperature to 300 for your braise time. If your oven tends to run a little bit on the colder side, then that 325 should be perfect. It just depends on what you have at home. Okay. Pan heat it up quickly here. So we're going to cut this. If you have any large pieces of fat, you can kind of trim it off just a little bit. We want a little bit of fat. That's going to provide some moisture, but that large chunk there, just go ahead and trim it. And then we're going to aim for about 2 to 3 inch pieces here. I'm going to grab my oil. Oh, yeah, it's right here. I already have it. Well, my pan's nice and hot, had it heating as we started. We'll go ahead, drop our chuck in there. some salt, pepper. There we go. So I'm working at about a medium high heat here. What we're aiming for is just to develop some colors. All right, so we're getting a little bit there, and then let it sit for a second longer, and then go ahead and rotate it. We're just browning it on all sides. You start to see that color start to develop.
It's brought to you by creditrepair.com. Start rebuilding your credit today.
Sorry.
Next commercial.
One of the cardinal rules.
You have to see a little bit better.
Yeah, I can. You said your pan is on medium-high heat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just getting a quick sear on there, developing just a little bit of color. It's still going to be pretty undercooked. A lot of that cooking is going to be happening in the oven. But what we're doing here is just developing that color. Because remember, braising is low and slow, that none of your color is going to be happening in the oven, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we just put this in raw in the oven, it'll cook, but we're not going to have that beautiful color that we're looking for. All right, so I have my dish here. So as I start to see that it's seared on all sides, I'm going to take it, set it aside in my dish. All right. Make sure you still have a decent amount of oil in your pan. If you need to add more, you absolutely can. I'm going to add in those onions. Again, season with salt and pepper. Okay. You can turn on your heat a little bit just to sweat out those onions. You can see it's looking like they've developed some color, but it's actually just picking up that color that's from the pan, from our meat. All right, so remember when you're sweating them out, you're looking for them to get translucent. I'm gonna add in that allspice here. our garlic. Just wait till you guys make this. It smells so good.
I bet.
All right, letting that bloom just for a second there. I'm gonna add in our red wine. Just letting that reduce just a little bit. Just that reduce for just a second there. All right, once it's reduced just a little bit, we're going to add in our water. Recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup. And our base, you can combine your base earlier if you would like. It'll dissolve once that water comes up to a boil though. So however you would like to do it. All right. Bring that up to heat. I'm gonna get my tomato sauce and crushed tomatoes ready. And now that beef base is dissolved in there. Like I said, if you want to do it ahead of time, absolutely can. Or you can just add it right in there. Our 1 cup of tomato sauce. It's an 8-ounce can, so I'm adding the whole can in there. Our 1 cup of diced tomatoes. One thing the recipe calls for that I don't see that I have is the oregano.
Okay.
Okay. If you guys have that oregano, you can go ahead and add that in. All right, we're going to bring this up to a boil and then we're going to taste it. Before I add any salt in there, because that base is a little bit salty, I want to taste it before I go ahead and add anything in there. So like I said, I'm going to bring that up to a heat. All right.
Julian.
Hey.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in some salt. And pepper.
I'm just gonna hop on.
Putting one in the freezer.
Sorry, Julian, I muted you.
Oh, I think he got off.
Okay. Since we're recording. We don't need grandma yelling in the background about candy. All right. Just bringing that up to heat. So you see I have my dish here with all of our meat in there. If you are putting your pot directly in the oven, then go ahead and add your meat back into that, and then you're going to cover it and then just put it in the oven, okay? But like I said, because I can't put mine in the oven, I'm baking in a separate dish here. All right, so I'm gonna add all of our liquid into our dish, covering up that meat.
Oh my gosh. That looks good.
So if only you guys could smell it.
That's what I was just about to say. I wish I could smell it.
All right, just making sure that that sauce is all in there. I'm now going to cover it. I have a glass lid that fits this perfectly. If you need to, use foil. It's gonna go in the oven. I have mine set for 325. It calls for 1.5 hours. I would check it at about the 45-minute mark, just to make sure that you still have some liquid in there. If for any reason it starts to disintegrate, and you notice that your chuck roast isn't quite done yet, go ahead and just add a little bit more water to it, and continue that braising process. So I would check it at about 45 minutes, and then just going until your chuck roast is nice and tender. What you're gonna do then is you're gonna pull this out after that, once it's tender, so about the 1.5 hour mark. You're gonna add your orzo directly into this. Just give it a stir, cover it back up, and then I would check it at about 30 minutes in the oven. Once that orzo is cooked, then your dish is ready to be served with that grated Parmesan.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in my oven.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I know, me too.
All right, got my timer set. Do you guys have any questions?
No, it's pretty simple. Like
This-
salt.
Yeah, it is fairly simple. Obviously, we're not going to have the time to finish it because it's going to be in the oven for so long. But I'll go ahead and update you guys with pictures about where it looks like at that 45-minute mark, and then again at that 1.5 hour mark, and what it looks like when it's finally finished.
Okay.
Looks so good.